What's up, guys? It's Danny from the Lazarcast.
With Charlotte.
And we're here to discuss, if you couldn't tell from our shirts, It. And we're not going to be talking about any specific It movie. We already did that. If you go back, one of the first videos you and I did was a comparison of
the 1990.
the 1990 miniseries.
And the 2017.
Yes, the Andy Muschietti films. So we're obviously pretty big It fans. So it was awesome when we found out there's a brand new It documentary called Pennywise, The Story of It, which is streaming exclusively on Screambox. Screambox is a horror subscription service. It's available on Roku. It's available online. We just got it. Luckily, Daddy is very good at horror trivia. Went to a bar, won horror trivia. If you live in Brooklyn or the New York City area, Highbury Pub in Brooklyn. My cousin runs a pretty good horror trivia game. And I won, and the prize for winning was a 1-year membership to Screambox. First thing Charlotte and I did was we jumped right on the Pennywise, The Story of It documentary. One of the other big things Screambox has coming up later this year is Terrifier 2 is being released exclusively on Screambox as well. So I guess they're just trying to corner the market in evil, scary clown stuff, which totally cool with. The movie is also, Pennywise, The Story of It, is also available to buy and rent on VOD, but been looking through Screambox over the last few days.
It was only 2 hours, and I was surprised because most documentaries are like...
Yeah. This documentary. Yeah. I mean, we had just started the 6-hour Crystal Lake Memories documentary about the Friday the 13th franchise. So a 2-hour documentary is really cool.
Just watching a movie.
Yeah. This was directed by two guys, John Campopiano and Chris Griffiths, and they both have experience working on horror documentaries and, in one case, Stephen King specific horror documentaries. John Campopiano directed Unearthed and Untold, which is a documentary about Pet Sematary, which is also streaming on Screambox. And Chris Griffiths directed a documentary I think you'll enjoy. You tell me what movie it's about. It's called You're So Cool, Brewster.
Fright Night.
That's right. Yeah, he directed a Fright Night documentary back in 2016, which I saw and I really enjoyed. I also enjoyed the Pet Sematary documentary. So these two guys have a lot of experience. And it was such a pivotal movie for me as a horror fan. I was 8 years old. I've told this story before. I was 8 years old. And
it broke him.
It did. I don't think I made it. I already hated clowns. My parents had tried taking me to the circus. Did not like clowns at all. And I don't think I made it past Georgie. I don't think I made it past the little girl on the tricycle and those first images of Tim Curry's Pennywise. And I barely made it past Georgie. And I slept with the lights on for about 2 months.
I couldn't even sleep.
Yeah, I mean,
that was a different horror movie, but...
Oh, well, yeah.
It was really scary, even the 1990 one, which I was like...
Well, I mean...
It's not that scary, but it's scary.
Well, do you like clowns? Like, we've only gone to the circus when you were really young, and, like, clowns...
To the circus?
Exactly. You were really young. You were like a baby. So, like if you saw a bunch of clowns walking around, would you be terrified?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Like, yeah, my logic for always...
I'm not afraid of clowns if they're in a movie or TV show, but, like, if I just see a clown staring at me across the street, I'd be like, yeah, I'm just gonna, like, start running
Exactly.
for my life.
That's how you survive a horror movie. So, the difference for me always between the Andy Muschietti, Bill Skarsgård version and the Tim Curry version of Pennywise was Pennywise looked like an actual clown. Whereas this looked like a monster. And so, yeah, I always was more scared of the Tim Curry version. And to a point where I met Tommy Lee Wallace at one of my first horror conventions. And I basically said to him, you know, you kind of ruined my life when I was a kid. And he looked at me and he went, let me guess, It, right? So he was really cool. My favorite thing about this documentary...
What is your favorite thing?
is that it's just it's just everything you want from a documentary about a movie series that you love. It's it's like beat by beat. They even break it up with the chapters.
Yeah. They talk about the kids, they talk about the adults, they talk about the writing and the spider.
Yeah, they talk about everything, like the whole process. They talk about how Lawrence D. Cohen, Lawrence D. Cohen, the writer, he wrote the original Carrie screenplay in 1976. And he had written Ghost Story in 1981. So he was kind of like a go-to guy for horror. And he was tasked with trying to break down this 1,000-page book. And the idea of this being a miniseries, like, it's very different today. Your generation doesn't really get, because there's so much streaming, like, things just get dropped on Netflix all the time. Like,
it's like, oh, we just made a new movie, Netflix.
Exactly. Back in the day, before streaming, there was literally only television and then the movies. So if something wasn't in the movie theater, then it was on television, and everybody was going to watch it. And this is at
least it gave a warning, because, like,
oh yeah, they go
they say, like, oh, that they made it for younger people to watch, but, like, no parent wanted their 5-year-old daughter or son to watch a clown.
Yeah, the fact that they were taking a risk at putting a 1,000-page Stephen King horror adaptation. This process started in the mid-'80s. Stephen King was already well over a decade established for not only being a prolific horror writer, but for having his work, turned into movies. I already mentioned Lawrence D. Cohen transcribed Carrie into a screenplay in 1976. Salem's Lot had been done as a TV movie years earlier. But this was going to be a massive undertaking. This was going to be a multi-night thing. And originally, what's interesting is they talked about how they wanted this to be 8 to
10 hours.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I think this would have been better if they would have given it the same treatment that they later gave The Stand a couple years later. 1994, I believe, Mick Garris's The Stand got 4 nights, 8 hours of television time to do their series, and that book, like it, was well over 1,000 pages, and you could definitely feel, and what's interesting is from Lawrence D. Cohen and Tommy Lee Wallace, who was the director, they totally get the idea, we totally get the idea as the viewer, that they knew right away that the first part of this was going to be better than the second part.
Yeah.
So, why do you think the first part is better?
Because kids. No. Well, kids, because I just feel like they're not better than the adults, but they're just more, like, fresh.
Yeah, I mean, but also, who's going to...
It just makes more sense of kids fighting a giant evil clown instead of adults fighting an evil clown, because you would always expect that.
Yeah. They do go into, like I said, the chapters, they break it down, the whole process of getting it to television, the whole process of writing it, and then there's the whole casting process. They go through the kids, they go through the adults. The adult cast was so amazing. When you consider the 1980s, you had Harry Anderson, you had Richard Thomas, Beverly D'Angelo. It's not Beverly D'Angelo. It's Annette O'Toole. Beverly D'Angelo was from the Vacation movies. I got that wrong. Annette O'Toole, Tim Reed, John Ritter. You had all these well-established actors, and then to cast the kids, and they did such a good job of showing, like, all the photographs and talking about the kid actors meeting their adult representatives.
Oh my god. I mean, like, certain people look so much like their adult selves, but then some people are just like, that was you.
I like what they did with how, like, some of the kids would come up with, like, tics or things that they would do, and then the adults would do them too.
Yeah.
So, like
like I think Ben or Stan, he holds his ear.
Yeah, like the kid who played
Cause-
Stan said he would just grab his ear when he was scared, and then they have Richard Mazer doing that as an adult when he gets the phone call that, you know, it's back, and he immediately grabs his ear. Richard Thomas makes a joke about Richard Thomas is adult
Richie?
Bill.
Oh.
He makes a joke about how they had to draw a mole on Jonathan Brandis's face to match his. Richard Thomas, by the way, we talked about this.
Doesn't look any different.
He looks like he walked off the set of It 1990.
And just walked into this documentary like,
Yeah.
okay, so we're doing this?
Yeah. They go into... they have tons of stories about the stuff that they got into on set, both the kids and the adults. You know, you put a bunch of well-known adult actors, some of which are comedians on set, you're going to get a raucous set.
If you had orange hair as a kid, wouldn't you stick with the orange hair
Oh,
though?
you mean Seth Green?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Like his adult character had brown hair. And he
True.
had bright orange hair. I like the bright orange, but like...
Yeah. They spend a lot of time talking about the obvious impact that Tim Curry had, to the point where there's this great they showed Legend, right?
Yeah.
And they talked about how some of the effects people and some of the makeup artists wanted to put all these heavy appliances on Pennywise, and what it took.
I just felt bad because in Legend he had like this big heavy
Oh yeah.
liquid poured into.
Yeah, he was just covered in, like, yeah, if you've seen Legend, as the Lord of Darkness, he's just covered in this, you can't even tell it's Tim Curry. And basically Tim Curry said, look, you hired me to be an evil clown.
Let me be an evil clown.
Paint my face, but then let me be the evil clown. And Tommy Lee Wallace talked about how they kind of just let him go. And so much to the movie's credit, because what everyone remembers about Stephen King's It, the miniseries from 1990, is
That.
Tim Curry's performance, his loud, over-the-top, yeah, kiss me, fat boy, you know, like, all those amazing line deliveries, and how scary he was, literally just as Tim Curry, the evil clown.
I just remember watching the documentary, and before they even showed how the stunt double went back, and then Tim Curry showed up. Before they did that, they just showed the stunt double flipping and turning, and I was like, "That's Tim Curry."
Yeah, and then he just hops off set, and Tim Curry walks on.
He's goes like this, and he's like, "It's so weird."
Now, obviously, sadly, we've lost some of the cast members. Jonathan Brandis tragically took his own life years ago. John Ritter and Harry Anderson tragically passed away, but pretty much everyone else is in
there.
this documentary.
I think even, what was her name? Adult Bev.
Annette O'Toole. I don't know if Annette O'Toole...
I think she might have had said something.
Yeah, but Emily Perkins, Richard Thomas, Tommy Lee Wallace, Tim Reed, all the kids were including the bullies.
Including the bullies. We saw Belch.
Belch and Henry Bowers.
I wanted to do my own stunt.
They talked about how strange Michael Cole, the actor who played adult Henry Bowers, was. And
I'm just glad, because I remember seeing the 2017 behind the scenes, and how that Henry
Bowers
was always so, the actor was always so nice to the other kids.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that the 1990 one is also really nice.
Yeah, it was, you could tell, the cast, because of, horror conventions and just the love that this miniseries has amongst people my age, and then our kids that we've passed it down to, that this group of actors have been together, and they talk to each other, and it's really great to see that there is that camaraderie. And it came across this was such an easy documentary to watch, and it's one of those documentaries, like many horror documentaries, that I feel like I'm just going to kind of throw on whenever I want something in the background. And I'll tell you one thing this documentary made me really want to do.
What?
and that is finally sit down and tackle the 1,100-page book. I've read a lot of Stephen King, but somehow, some way, it has always been the one book that I was never able to get into. Not because I never started it, even though I love all the movie adaptation versions. So I feel like now I'm going to definitely go read it. Then I'm probably going to want to rewatch it. And then I'm definitely going to want to rewatch this documentary to pick up on, other little things that I missed.
I feel like because the actor of Henry Bowers was so nice and was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Are you okay?"
To Ben, yeah.
Yeah, I like everybody, because even Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I was one of them, I'd just be like, "Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay."
The kid who played,
down.
the actor who played young Mike, he said that, young Henry would always come over to him and go like, "Listen, I'm really sorry I had to say those terrible things." Yeah. And the actor was like, "Yeah, that was really good to hear that, thank God," because you don't want an actor on set who's like really comfortable saying the Henry Bowers lines. But yeah, this also served as really, and I mentioned it earlier, a proof of concept, because this got pretty good reviews. It got incredible ratings, like 30 million people watching it. And just a few years later, we had other Stephen King miniseries, the Tommyknockers.
The Shining. Or was that before?
Well, no, that was after. The miniseries of The Shining was after. But The Stand was the big one, 1994. Oh, yeah. That got 4 nights of TV based on the fact that it got 2. And it's crazy because they, again, when you look at it, 187 minutes, if you just watch it as a single movie, that's 4 hours of television that come out to barely a 3-hour movie. The other thing, they do talk about some of the controversies. They talk about that one scene that I won't explain in detail that is in the book that is not possible to make for the movie. It was funny that Emily Perkins, who played young Beverly, she had not read the book, and she said that all her male cohorts had, and they were kind of teasing her about that. They also talk about the giant spider.
Oh, yeah. That was fun.
And how everyone was kind of in different stages of disappointment.
Like, they were like, what?
Yeah.
But, Tommy Lee Wallace kind of grew on it.
Yeah, Tommy Lee...
What?
I like Tommy Lee Wallace a lot.
He was like, okay.
He kind of had that idea, like this great story with this incredible, monstrous villain.
Spider?
It ends with a spider, which is funny because, as a kid, the 2 things I hated more than anything in the world were clowns and spiders. So it's like really? Stephen King was just in my... Now, one thing I will say, Stephen King does not add any... He's not a talking head in this documentary. So what the directors do very cleverly is they incorporate old interview footage and old footage from Stephen King. It opens with a scene of him, I think, lecturing at a college where he talks about the inspiration he had for it.
Oh, yeah.
Walking home, and there was a bridge, and I
feel like that part was just like, I didn't even know what was happening.
Well, yeah, that was also the very, very beginning, but I like that, okay, Stephen King didn't, come up. He didn't have a speaking role, so they were just going to get that footage so that we could at least hear from Stephen King in this.
And how he felt about it.
Overall, like I said, I really enjoyed this documentary.
Oh, and I almost forgot. I want to talk about Seth Green because during the set, all he wanted to do during the werewolf scene is go, ooh. Yeah,
so of course, Seth Green played young Richie.
Yes.
And Richie's fear that Pennywise exploits is his fear of werewolves. Seth Green was like, "Oh, I just wanted to play with the werewolf," and then of course, just about 7 years later, Buffy the Vampire Slayer starts on TV, and Seth Green would show up, and what would he be?
He would be Oz, who plays a werewolf.
He would be a werewolf. So Seth Green went full circle in the span of about 7 years.
Seth Green was even young Richie until a year ago.
I completely forgot until I rewatched it with you.
And then
probably 2 years ago.
And then a year after that, I was looking at like pictures of Tim Curry's like It and things, and I was like, wait, young Richie looks like Oz. So
yeah.
Seth Green, it's the same person.
I think in general horror documentaries play repetitively better than other documentaries because horror fans are really weird. We want to know everything about the movie. We want to know every stone unturned. Pete and I have talked to David Weiner, the director of In Search of Darkness 1 and 2 and In Search of Tomorrow. We've had him on our channel several times, and I've rewatched In Search of Darkness 1 and 2 2-3 times each, and those are 4.5-hour documentaries, and we've talked to him about what it is about horror that leads to documentaries like this. Crystal Lake Memories, 6 hours about the Friday the 13th franchise. Never Sleep Again, 4 hours plus.
We only got through like
we only watched
1.5.
I know. We'll get back to it maybe today. Never Sleep Again was a 4.5-hour documentary about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Horror fans just want to know everything. And if you're a fan of that original 1990 miniseries, you need to go out of your way, jump on Screambox, watch Pennywise, the Story of It, or rent it or buy it on VOD. And I want to shout out our friend Chris.
Yes.
Because Chris made a great point. He did a 30-second review on his channel, Future Boy Reviews, and he basically said that this documentary is like the DVD extras that we never got on any of the original It DVD releases. Look at how old this DVD is. This has that plastic seal. It's like the hardened paper, cardboard box. And what are the special features on this?
Feature-length audio commentary by Dennis Christopher, Tim Reed, John Ritter, Richard Thomas, and director Tommy Lee Wallace.
Okay, so it has audio commentary, which is fine. That's good. But then what else?
Interactive menus, scene access, subtitles, English, France, and Espanol.
Interactive menus, scene access, and subtitles. That's it. This is a bare bones old original DVD release. And Chris is right. The reason that fans got into DVD collecting all those years ago was because, not just because we liked the movies, but because unlike VHS, they offered more space to do all those special features. This would have been a perfect double disc set with it, but on its own, tremendous documentary. Great work from John Campopiano and Chris Griffiths, the directors, and I'm really gonna go out of my way to show Charlotte those other documentaries, Unearthed and Untold, about Pet Sematary, which is also on Screambox, and You're So Cool, Brewster, about Fright Night. So that's it for Pennywise, the Story of It. Charlotte and I are going to watch more horror movies. We're going to get back into Crystal Lake Memories, which is on Shudder. Speaking of Shudder, we have an interview with Michael Moresi up on the channel. He co-wrote the horror movie Revealer, which is up on Shudder now. Between Shudder and Screambox, I have enough to watch for a long time. And if you get a chance to go to the theaters, Pete and I did an hour-long deep dive review of the latest horror film in theaters, Nope, from director Jordan Peele.
Nope.
Really good. You should go see it.
Nope. No. I'll watch it.
Yep. Nope. Anyway, this has been Danny.
And Charlotte.
And we are wearing our It shirts. And check out Pennywise, the Story of It, and we'll see you very soon.